Hello, it's Nikki. How are you doing? This is going to be a mini series, so make sure you're following and subscribing, and then you can follow along the way. But the reason that I am breaking this down in this way is because when I did the exercise myself, because I'm really passionate about doing these things, I need to make sure it works first. And I'm never going to ask you to do something that I haven't done myself. But something that I have been playing around with recently is identity. And I know that it is a big and complex word. And maybe it's my age, maybe it's my stage of life. But I've definitely, if 2023 was an album I wrote, it would have been like the ultimate, what would it have been called? Not the ultimate breakdown. That sounds a bit negative, doesn't it? The ultimate reset. That's a much more positive reframe. Let's go with that. But literally, I felt like every part of my life and my business, I really took the time to look at it, to explore it, to almost like pull it apart, because I also knew that there was a better, bigger, bolder version of me that was sort of waiting, lurking in the distance. And yet I felt there was a gap between where I was and where that version of me was. And I was in control of that. This is the thing. Might be your first takeaway of like, oh, I'm in control of it. Oh, great, I can get going on this moment. That is really refreshing and really reassuring. Once I figured out that I could be in control of that, it was great. But yeah, I very much came from this situation where I could see that next version of me. And I knew in order to get there, I had to do some like cleaning up, resetting, releasing, letting go, because not everything could come with me there. And also I knew I needed some new tools to really ease the journey. So I'm going to be taking you through these states, these things that you may want to journal about, and let's see what comes up. As always, go very gently with yourself. If you want to talk about it with your friend as well, go really easy. Grace and compassion is so important in these scenarios, because sometimes it can feel confronting. And again, that was maybe what it was. 2023, the ultimate confronting reset. Anyway, the first thing I want to talk about is, and again, let me just say this as well. You don't have to go from like 1 to 100 in all this. I was watching 2 comedians talking the other day about those 10-year younger programs. You know, those makeover shows in the 2000s and the 90s, where actually this person just needed a sleep, or just needed some childcare, or an afternoon to herself, or just a nice haircut and a few highlights. And yet they were going in there, they were giving her veneers, they were giving her fillers, they were like doing all of these things. And it's like, no, she doesn't need like this whole thing where she looks in the mirror and then doesn't recognize herself. So this is always about tweaking. And this is not a fastest finger first thing. You can go slowly but surely, and just start with one thing, explore it. If you want it to like go, then do that. But you don't have to change your life immediately or do all of the things, because actually there's so much magic in you already. I know that sounds like a cheeseball card, but it's true. I think sometimes we feel everything has to change and then we'll be ready. But actually, lots of you is ready now. So I want to look at some outdated things. And the first thing is, I want you to think about any behaviors that are outdated. And again, sometimes these things are very embedded with us for a long time. And what we can find is sometimes we need some additional support. So if anything I'm saying as we go through this process, you're like, oof, I think I need to talk to somebody about that, absolutely take that action. You know yourself better than anybody else. So give yourself that, that support. So in terms of behaviors, I can give you an example for me of my relationship with exercise. So there have been, first and foremost, I know that movement really works for me. It works for my brain. It works for my focus and my concentration. It works for my creativity, my ability to focus on a solution rather than be like, I don't know what I'm doing. That's like the worst place for me to be. I want to be in that place where I'm sharp and I'm figuring it out and going, oh, we could do this. And, I want to be in that place of momentum. And yet my relationship with exercise was very up and down. And it was always from like a feeling place, like I feel like it today or I don't. And this is not about not paying attention to your body, because when I was 36 weeks pregnant with my son, I was enormous and I could barely get up the stairs. I had to go on my hands and knees, and then I really hurt my back and I couldn't move, and it was a nightmare because he turned in a weird place. And so my 38-week-old pregnant self was not saying, okay, let me start HIIT training. I wasn't doing that. But it's just like those general things. On a random Tuesday, I'd be like, well, it does look like it might rain today. And then I wouldn't do it. And then actually, if I looked at the weather half an hour later, it hadn't rained at all. So this is really about, this for me in terms of behaviors, was about getting some order and discipline into the things that I was doing. And because I knew that running worked for me, I was like, I need to do this every day. And again, you might be like, I don't need to do this every day. Absolutely fine. But I now do 15 minutes, and I've been doing it since the 19th of November. So as I'm talking to you today, this is day 152. And that shift of my behaviors from being somebody that was random with something that worked for me into I do this thing every day because I make a decision to try and shift things every day. Absolutely game changing. So maybe you want to start with that. What makes you feel really good? And then on the flip side, you might identify some stuff that doesn't make you feel good. Maybe you have patterns of behavior or things like that. I know that's a very long-winded situation, but again, bearing in mind of where you want to get to, where you want to be, who you want to be, bringing some awareness today of those behaviors. I would love to know if something has resonated. You can, of course, message me on my website. There's a button at the bottom. If you want to work together, make a plan, get things moving. Now that I've started this series, you're like, okay, yes, I'm ready to go. Working together could be perfect for you. So let me know, and I'll see you in part 2. Bye.